Welcome back to the Talkin podcast brought to you by the folks over at Chief of Staff KC. With Thanksgiving coming up, Lucas wanted to take a couple extra precautions before being around family this week, so I'm riding solo. But this week we're joined by Grant Gooding, CEO and founder of Proof Positioning. Grant, Katie Lord told me you're pretty happy to be in studio to talk some chop this week. Are you excited to be here?
Is that what she said?
Yeah. Well, it's great to have you here. I'm excited to get into things. But so the Chiefs survived their first trip to Vegas with a 35-31 W over the Raiders on Sunday night. Hell of a finish there, but we'll get into that in a minute. But this week we'll cover Grant's entrepreneurial journey, starting Proof Positioning, another fantastic performance by the Chiefs offense, our fantasy picks for Week 12, and then our preview for the Bucs game coming up on Sunday in Tampa Bay. But first, we're going to bring you our positions of the week brought to you by Chief of Staff KC, your local trusted talent scouts. We're a recruiting firm in Brookside, and we'll bring you the best accounting and finance, admin, marketing, HR, operations, and sales talent Kansas City has to offer. So with Lucas being gone this week, I'm going to read his position for him. He's got a project accountant and staff accountant position open right now with a company up in the Northland. Really just looking for a bachelor's degree in accounting and then 1 to 4 years of experience on that end. And they got apparently a great benefits package, some good perks and compensation on as well, with a lot of vertical growth. On my end, on the operations side of things, we actually have a lot of temporary positions, contract roles coming up here before the end of the year with a company that's really quickly growing out in Overland Park. We've been posting about it on our socials all week. So if you or anyone you know, any family members, friends, people back from college, studying from home, anyone that needs a contract position to make some extra cash for the holidays, hit us up. Number of different positions from admin to operations to payroll to a number of different things. So if you're looking for contract work, let us know. But those are your positions of the week brought to you by Chief of Staff Kansas City. Well, Grant, thanks again for being here this week. It's great to have you here. Great to get to know you over the past couple of months. I know that you and I were like on a Casey Cam board together, and we've seen each other around, but ended up getting coffee, and it was great to get to know you. But looking forward to learning from you a little bit more today. But so you kind of gave me a brief background of yourself when we met, but for the folks who don't know, can you kind of give us a brief career background before you jump into things?
Career background. It's a mesmerizing story of me having no idea what I want to do.
Okay.
At first I wanted to when I was in college, I started a company by accident and forgot to go to class. But it was having fun making money, and ended up having a staff of 6 people, and then ran it into the ground extremely quickly. Lost all my scholarships, and and it was at William Jewell, and they very politely asked me to leave.
Okay.
Which I deserve to. And then went back to school at UMKC, graduated, got my MBA, and then was going into law school and worked in grad school in law and decided that I hated it. So I became a mergers and acquisitions analyst. I did that for about 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the market tanked. And so when the housing market collapsed, the economy collapsed, banking collapsed. So it was a tough time in that business. So started experimenting with new ideas and developed a method of customer assessment that was pretty unique. And 8 years later, it's called Proof and Proof Positioning. And we can essentially quantify emotional resonance. And why does that matter? It matters because the human mind does not use its smart brain when it makes decisions. So what clothes you put on this morning, or what you eat for lunch, or what car you buy, all uses the same emotional process in your brain. So we found a way to map that process digitally, and we can tell organizations what to say to which people, using what methods to create the highest mathematical probability to close a deal. So
Wow.
we have a really cool. I have a cool job for sure.
So, what kind of markets do you guys typically go after for that?
It as long as there are people that need to be convinced to buy something, whether it's a service or a product or
Right.
donate money, the brain goes through the exact same process. So we're very fortunate that this works in almost every industry. So we've worked with multi-billion-dollar, multinational CPG companies, professional services, distribution, manufacturing, but also sales and engineering and architecture. And probably the fastest growing part of the company right now is nonprofits.
Yeah.
We brought on Katie Lord, who
Right.
you met with, to head up that division. She's doing a spectacular job. But the nonprofit world's being shook up big time right now.
Right.
So it's a great time to help those organizations figure out how to pivot,
Yeah.
make sure that they remain solvent, and grow their donor bases. So that's probably our fastest growing part right now.
Great. Well, I'm always fascinated to talk to entrepreneurs about, their passions and kind of reasons for taking that risk to start their own company. So I know you mentioned back in college, you kind of had that entrepreneurial mindset, all the way back then. So I guess what led you to start something that early on in your career? I guess what did you learn from that first failure? And then, I guess why then, after doing M&A for so long, did you then take that risk to start something with Proof?
I think entrepreneurs are a unique breed. You have something in your DNA that other people don't. Not that it's a good thing.
Right.
It's. I really think we don't like being told what to do,
Yeah.
and it's not really a whole lot more complex than that.
Right.
And you have to have enough of an ego and the ability to believe in yourself to look at a situation, a scenario, or a problem and say, I think I can figure out a better way to do that.
Yeah.
And then bring value to the world. And that is what happened when I was in the M&A space. The failure rates in that market are approximately 70%. So for small $10 million acquisitions and less. So if you're a distribution company that makes Patrick Mahomes bobbleheads.
Yeah.
Did you know that about his mom? I didn't know his mom was so particular about that.
Patrick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody
she'll
calls
get
him
on
Pat.
everyone
Like,
about that.
I heard somebody announcer the other day that was calling a different game, bring him up and corrected himself.
Yeah.
So say you make bobbleheads, right? And you acquire another manufacturing distribution company that makes bobbleheads for like custom bobbleheads.
Right.
Not too terribly different of a business, but the probability of the organization that buys the other one of running that thing into the ground, making it insolvent inside 3 years is 70%. That's
crazy.
A horrible failure rate.
Yeah.
That's a lot of wealth and job destruction. So one of the things I wanted to try and figure out is if we could do something about that. And that was the genesis of the whole thing. It didn't really work because it was supposed to be a due diligence tool, like a thing you're supposed to go through to help figure out whether or not we should do this acquisition or not.
Right.
But the lawyers and the sellers didn't want us anywhere near their company, which makes sense because they're kind of well packaged and they have a price. They don't want anybody to upset that price that they're trying to charge for the company. So so that was a failure, but the model worked and it's taken a few revisions over the years.
Gotcha.
You got to be pretty hard-headed to be an entrepreneur too.
Yeah.
It's going to work. I just got to turn the next corner.
Yeah, I mean, you got to believe in yourself when no one else does. Yeah, you got to have that, especially if you're gonna, provide for a team and work for them to support them, and so respect that. One of the other things I want to bring up, so whenever your name comes up in conversation through networking or whatever it is, I always find it funny that everyone always talks about how your mind works, and it's just a little bit different than everyone else's. Meaning, and that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just a bit more analytical and thoughtful than most people, especially that I know. I'm not a numbers person, and you live in a world that I just really don't understand as well. But how do you think that kind of helps you run your company? One of the things that Katie admired about you is that your willingness to just be open to new ideas and hire people that are smart to kind of run with those ideas. But what's your kind of mindset to running a company and supporting your team?
Well, numbers are numbers. So there's no lack of numbers. No one's ever said to me, man, we really need data.
Mm-hmm.
They say we really need to understand this.
Right.
We need to understand how to translate these numbers into something we can do. Our business is no different. Numbers are numbers, right? We look at numbers all the time to monitor growth. But one of the things that doing what we do has taught me is that I'm a friggin' idiot, because we look at a scenario in a company, and I've been doing this for a long time. I've seen literally like hundreds, maybe 1,000 different business scenarios and organizations and done valuations. So you'd think I'd be really damn good at it, but I'm surprised all the time where I look at a situation and I say, okay, this is probably what's going on, and I'm totally wrong. Once the data comes back, it's extremely humbling. So after you get beat down just time after time, you kind of develop some real and some intentional humbleness.
Right.
So I approach our company the same way. I don't think I have all the answers. If I had all the answers, I wouldn't need anybody.
Right.
So I like to find people that have very specific subject matter knowledge, and then let them do what they want to do, because that's a great way to build a good company.
Yeah.
You will hire a smart person and come in and tell them what to do. Why the hell would you do that?
Right.
That doesn't make any sense. Just hire an idiot right out of college or something that doesn't know anything, and then teach them if that's what you want. But it's a lot easier, and you get a lot better results when you find people that already know what they want to do.
Right.
And so yeah, I do the exact same thing that we do for our clients. I sit back and I'm an idiot. What would you do? You know this market. You know what has value, and then go get them.
Yeah. Well, I admire that approach. I feel like when you're talking about entrepreneurs or even companies coming together that end up failing, I feel like everyone might be a bit too hard-headed sometimes to kind of approach things that way. And you said a lot of entrepreneurs, you have to have some form of ego to start something like that on your own. But then that ego can sometimes get in the way. It definitely doesn't sound like you have that problem. So definitely respect that about you.
I didn't used to, but you get old. When you get older, you start to realize that, well, it's Socrates, right? Like, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know.
Right.
And if you don't like failure, you should definitely not be an entrepreneur.
Right.
Because the first thing's not going to work. The second thing's not going to work. You have to be resilient. You have to be open-minded. And if you had all the answers, nobody's going to follow you either.
Right. I get that. So the last time we met for coffee, you were kind of talking about kind of like a new collegiate athletics, focus for your market research moving forward. Obviously, with COVID, budgets got, cut in half, and probably not going to be as big of a focus moving forward. But are you guys, looking to, where do you guys see opportunities moving forward? Are you just going to kind of double down on the divisions you have now? It sounds like nonprofits doing really well. Where do you see, more opportunities for Proof moving forward?
Well, I don't always know. It's just it's just hypotheses. So we have this really cool thing that we can use to figure stuff out, and it works in for-profit businesses. It works in associations, nonprofits, and there's really interesting things that we can do. So part of my job is to figure out what are other areas that we can use this tool without increasing our scope. Because when you do that, you start losing money. And we thought, like, religious institutions could be one. That's one we're evaluating pretty heavily.
Really?
They have very similar problems, right? I sort of believe there's an inverse correlation that exists between faith and prosperity. When you have a population with high prosperity, faith tends to go down. When despair increases, faith tends to go up.
Right.
So it's been a constant issue for folks that are trying to keep their churches and their synagogues and everything else alive and thriving, and they have very similar problems. How do we get people to come back every Sunday?
Yeah.
Do they want to just look everything online, right? Do they, what kind of family experience they want? They have
Right.
So, and sports is one of those. So we had a product that that I built that failed miserably. You got as you do. That's fine. Just figure it out.
Yeah.
And so I thought of a different application for it when I was watching when I was watching Jerry Maguire, believe it or not. And I couldn't change the channel because I was holding my I was holding my 6-month-old. You're stuck there.
Yeah.
And anyway, it hit me. I was like, oh my gosh, we could actually really impact that market. So I started making some phone calls and talking to some Div 1 and Div 2 like football and basketball coaches. And turns out there is some opportunity there. And what we can do is we can help coaches get what we're consider to be unprecedented clarity into the athletes that they're recruiting.
Right.
So right now, it's not they have their scouts and they have the kids submit videos and stuff.
Right.
But for the most part, they don't know anything about these kids.
Yeah.
And they're making judgment calls on very short amount of time. So we can, but because of our process, we can tell you anything about anybody. It's a little freaky sometimes, but we can really easily and quickly go in and look at these kids and come back and say, this kid's a gym rat. He's a quiet leader. Here are the most important things to this kid. By the way, he's got a girlfriend in a different state, and that might be an issue. And just be able to bring up things that are important to coaches. We're learning all the time the types of stuff that they think are important. Can they do their own laundry? I mean, and we can figure that stuff out really, really quick and give them data points that allow them to be more efficient with they have small budgets.
Right.
And the NCAA puts a lot of restrictions on that. So anyway, we the coaches were very positive. So we have some projects in field right now to test it, see if it works. But if it does work, it's gonna be cool.
Yeah, it sounds like
it's gonna be real cool.
Yeah, I mean, and the amount of money that you could save, the athletic department, it's pretty substantial, especially right now when you don't really know what the future.
Well, and you're making a good match, right? There's an element of serendipity that exists, I think, when you're selecting a school. But for the most part, what we're really doing is saying, hey, look, this kid's not going to be happy playing ball for you, or and it's not because of anything that's wrong with the team.
Yeah.
It's other elements, like this is a small town, kid that you're putting in a big city, and it's not going to work, and here's the reason why. So it's not only helping coaches saving the school money, which it will do, it's making sure that we have better fits with the kids. It'll decrease turnover, it'll decrease the probability of a kid leaving and going back home in the middle of the season. Because that's the story I hear a lot is we were banking everything on this kid, and he went to a different school, and now the coaches are like, I mean, they spent money and resources on him, and now they got an empty spot on the field, and it's a big problem.
Right.
So
yeah, I get that, and I mean, I think that there's tremendous opportunity there. I mean, just in hearing you explain that, it just makes so much sense. So
it'd be fun.
Best of luck with that moving forward. So to wrap things up on the Talkin' Shop side of things, every guest, we always ask 3 kind of rapid fire questions towards the end. So we asked for a recent first down, sack, and Hail Mary. So first down is a recent bit of small success that kind of, leads to more success. A sack is a recent setback or failure you've had to overcome that you've learned from. And then a Hail Mary is, a big, like hairy, audacious goal here moving forward for, 2021. So starting off with a first down, just a recent bit of small success that might lead to more.
We've found that there are agencies, advertising agencies, marketing agencies, consultants that aren't good at research, big and small. Some are great, but we found that this year in particular that we can really provide them some value and create strong partnerships, and it's made a difference for us financially and with quality of work. So I've had an absolute blast doing it. But there's a few agencies that bring us in a lot to help with work.
Yeah,
and it's good. It's great financially. It's great for clients. It's great because we're stealing money from, like, we just stole a big project from an agency in New York.
Yeah,
and all that money is in Kansas
Keeping
City
it
now.
local. I like it.
So so with most of these agencies, we're fighting to keep money or get money into Kansas City.
Yeah.
So that's been really fun. That's been good work.
Props to you for that.
SAC,
yeah.
dude. I mean, SAC is COVID. I mean, it was brutal.
Mm-hmm.
We lost a lot of money right away because the world freaked out.
Yep.
It's people have got their heads on now, and they're kind of realizing we have to push our organization forward, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
But that was that was tough. It's tough for everybody. We're super lucky. We're super because there are some people that they got devastated.
Mm.
I heard a stat. I don't think this came out of the Department of Bureau of Labor Statistics. 100,000 small businesses have confirmed closed. 100,000. Wow.
Yeah.
So one of the things we were talking about in the office the other day was like how many of those were permanent jobs. I mean, if they're
Right.
transient jobs. That's actually pretty fortunate if you're losing transient jobs because it's part of the business, right?
True.
So some of the wait staff and stuff in restaurants.
mhm.
But what does the permanent loss look like?
Yeah.
I mean, it could be way more devastating financially than we could ever consider from human loss.
Right.
I mean, 100,000 businesses.
It's nuts. It really is. Matt Basinger was in here last week, and we were talking about that, and he's like, with him being an experiences-based company, now more than ever, it's important to support local business. So one, props to you for keeping money here in town, but with the holidays coming up, supporting that is really what's going to help them survive and to cut down on that number as much as possible.
Yeah, we're going big on holiday presents this year, and we're getting all local. We're buying just all local stuff. Basinger will figure it out. That dude's brilliant.
He is.
He'll figure it out.
He is. All right, and then the last one would be like a Hail Mary, a big goal that you got coming up, or one for 2021.
We try to double every year.
Mm-hmm.
And every year I'm like, that crap ain't going to happen. We were on pace to double this year, and COVID just wiped that out.
Yeah.
So we won't quite get there. So that's always my goal.
Okay.
So double next year.
I like it. Keep moving forward. All right. Well, I appreciate all that insight. It's always great to talk to you about business, but let's get into the Chiefs football. So obviously, yet another Mahomes Magic performance Sunday night. Every week we give the guests the first take of the game. So with that, the time's yours.
Just on the game in general?
On the game. What were your first thoughts?
I think we're lucky we won.
Mm-hmm.
I think we were outplayed. I was frustrated as hell with our pass rush.
Yep.
I mean, dude, Carr was having a picnic back there every snap.
I know.
He's just dropping back, and it's like their offensive line is made of like right in the center there, the safety or the center and those two guards. That's like 1,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Those three guys or more. God, it was probably 1,100 or 1,200 pounds, and nobody could get past him.
Yep.
I mean, I think Frank Clark kissed,
he barely
Carr's hand once.
Yeah.
And that was it. You can't win games like that.
I know. They haven't been showing up like the last couple weeks too. I don't know what it is. It's been frustrating.
We got, and I thought, and I remember when the announcers at the beginning of the game were going through, and they're like, "Oh, there's all these guys on COVID that are out," and they're like, "Oh, it's going to be devastating." I'm like, I'm not sure that's always true, right? A lot of times for those guys, they're hungry. They got a shot if they're coming in and filling a role.
100%.
And I'm like, ugh. And we played, we played consistent the whole game except for that last 2 minute. That last two minute drill, but
yeah, I mean, it really feels like the tides have turned finally in our favor. Like I remember, I was laying in bed watching the last drive, and I'm like, I had no doubt at all. And LeBron James tweeted out, he's like, "Is there any doubt on that drive at all?" But like, it reminds me of us playing Tom Brady and leaving too much time on the clock, and then every single time he drives down and wins the game, and we're just left with our hearts ripped open. So finally, maybe we got the tides are turned into our favor. But I mean, Mahomes, 348 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. I mean, if he hadn't thrown that interception at the half, I wonder what that game would have looked like. But man, I mean, he's got to be the MVP frontrunner now, right? I mean, do you see anyone else out there?
I don't think so. I think part of the reason, too, is the guy's been healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much. I mean, everybody's getting hurt. I think maybe it's just because people weren't getting reps in the preseason.
Right.
Because of COVID. But if he stays healthy, I think so.
Yeah. I mean, Russ has thrown what, like 7 interceptions in the last 5 games or something crazy like that, and
I mean,
Rodgers just lost to the Colts, so
yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. But I mean, Kelsey and Hill
God, I hope he doesn't.
continue to kill it. Kelsey had 8 catches for 127 and a touchdown. Hill had 11 catches. I think he had like 5 catches on that first drive. He was just all over the place. I don't think anyone can stop this two. Like anyone. Hill. We were talking about Darren Waller and Kelsey being, athletically similar. But I mean, just name a defense that's going to stop that. We've yet to come across one. Maybe the Bucs next week, but I mean, we'll see. But then also Derek Carr really did come to play. I mean, it's very rarely that someone outperforms Mahomes and still loses. But what a game on that end. I mean, he's been so up and down in his career. I mean, played with injuries too. But I mean, he looked like an MVP out there.
He did.
He really
did.
did.
A good game.
Yeah.
And I kind of wondered too, like, did we just get outplayed physically? Because, and it almost looked like Andy knew it.
Yeah.
Because the game plan was get the ball out of Patrick's hands as fast as possible.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering, like, do we give that to Gruden or not? Sometimes he looks brilliant, and sometimes you're like, what?
Yeah, my dad kind of brought that up as we were watching the game. He's like, when Andy thinks, he's got it in the bag and he's not too worried about a game, like on the sidelines, his like body language is a lot more relaxed and laid back and kind of jovial. But he was like laser focused that game. He was really intense. And, maybe it was just because of the rivalry and all the, bulletin board material behind that game. But, yeah, I mean.
He got fired up on that non-call on that intentional ground. That was bad.
You don't see Andy like that very often.
That was one of the most fired up I've ever seen him.
Yeah.
That would have been a big call because that would have been 4th down.
Yeah.
They ended up scoring.
Well, I mean, the Chiefs, moved to, 9-1 now with that. And so, if they had lost that game, I think the percentage of them winning the AFC West would have been like in the 70s or something, having lost both games to the Raiders. But I think we got the division locked up at this point. We just can't coast. But so moving forward, we have our fantasy segment. We'll kind of gloss over that real quick. I know that you play, right?
Yeah, I'm old, remember? Not as much as I used to.
Is your team doing well this year?
My team is fortunately doing well.
There you go. It's been a weird year in fantasy. It's been a lot of waiver wire moves with all these injuries. But Luke is out there. He's got a couple starting sits for you. He said start Will Fuller, CeeDee Lamb, and James White. James White had a great game. CeeDee Lamb had an amazing catch in the end zone last week. But then he also said to sit the Chiefs defense against the Bucs. That's a good one there, Luke. It seems pretty obvious.
They may come back fired up. I don't know.
We'll see. I mean, I don't know. They've been playing not very well. And then for my waiver wire ads for the week, we'll go over real quick. Just a couple of receivers for you. Michael Pittman, the Colts wide receiver, has been getting a lot more target share lately, as the Colts have been doing surprisingly well. I think they're 7-3 now. And then Curtis Samuel of the Panthers had a big game last week. He's kind of a hybrid running back, kind of like a Cordell Patterson, as Christian McCaffrey's out. He's getting more touches. And then Jordan Reed of the 49ers, again, he came back from injury. He's been getting a lot of targets as well with some of their wide receivers injured. But coming up in week 12, week 12, excuse me. So beating the Patriots is always fun, right? But there was something about it this year that just wasn't there. And it was, obviously we all hate Belichick, but I think our hatred for Brady runs a little bit deeper than that. So with us finally facing Brady down in Tampa, what are your first thoughts for this game?
Well, I was looking forward to whooping on him. But Brady was a disaster last night.
Yeah.
And he's not one to typically lose 2 in a row.
Right. And
something just wasn't clicking. I don't know if it was mental, but he had passes that were way off.
Oh yeah.
And just had a bad game. And he's enough of a pro. As much as I don't like the guy at all. I think he has the biggest ego in North America.
Yeah.
And people say he's the players say they're nice, but it certainly doesn't come off that way publicly. And he's just Tom Brady. He's easy to hate.
Yeah.
But I'm afraid he's going to come back. And I'm not sure we faced a passing attack quite like looking at like Mike. We have Mike Evans,
Chris Godwin.
And you got Chris Godwin,
Antonio Brown now.
And now you got AB, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it is kind of like, if you think about it in a lot of ways, like Evans is size and shape of Kelsey.
Yeah.
Godwin's kind of like.
You see his touchdown last night getting dragged back, and you just.
Oh,
that was great.
well, you see the play before that too.
Yeah.
That, like, you know, had 3 guys that throw him down. We're talking smack on him. The next play, he drags through him into the end zone.
Yeah.
And Godwin's kind of like, he's kind of like Hill, but not as good. But, you know, he's a great route runner.
Yeah.
And then it's almost like AB's kind of like Sammy.
Mm-hmm. Possession receiver. Yeah.
So you've got kind of an interesting matchup. If Brady's throwing well, that's a hell of a passing attack.
I know. And, I mean, that's the thing. I think it's going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be up and down the field like it was on Sunday night, because I just don't think our defense has it right now. Hopefully down the stretch we'll get smacked. I mean, honestly, if we lose this game, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I thought we were going to go 14-2, and this was the one game I was really worried about. So I was telling my brother last night, I was like, I really hope they win this game. Because the same way, Brady rarely loses 2 in a row, and the last thing you want him is pissed off going into this game. And so I think they realize it's a big game. Obviously, it's non-division or non-conference game, so if we lose it, it's not that big of a deal. So I mean, we'll see. But Lucas's keys to victory this week are first one's creativity on both sides of the ball. Keep Brady guessing on defense with blitzes and unique schemes. And then offensively, involved everyone to keep their defense honest. Pat, just let him do the rest. Second one's find a way to win in the trenches. Again, no pressure against Derek Carr, as we were talking about. Brady will pick us apart if we don't get in his face. He always does. And then the last one is to attack early, attack often, push the ball down the field so we can sit back on our running game and coast to victory. I thought they did a great job in this Raiders game of establishing the run. You know, they ended up getting Le'Veon some touches, ended up getting his first touchdown, and Clyde had 2 touchdowns as well. So, you know, I think I was surprised at how long we possessed. I mean, that second quarter, I think we only had or maybe the first quarter, we only had 1 possession each or something crazy like that. So I was surprised. I thought they would have, you know, tried to score quicker and turn it into a shootout to see. But, you know, Andy knows what he's doing. So coming up for this game, do you have a score prediction for the Bucs-Chiefs game?
Oh, dude, I suck at this.
Oh, I'm terrible at it. Trust me.
I'll say 35-27 Chiefs.
I like it. Lucas was 35-28 Chiefs. And I'm going to go, again, I think this might be a game that we lose, but I'm going to go 38-31 Chiefs. The guests are now in second place. Lucas took first place with he's got 136 now. Guests are 143 on 162. It's like our scoring. Again, I'm terrible at this too, so don't worry about that. But Grant, really do appreciate your time this week. Thanks for making some time to sit down with us and talk proof and talk some football. It was good catching up with you. But that does it for week 12 of Talkin' Chop. Whether you're listening on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple, make sure to subscribe to us to catch our weekly episodes with some of Kansas City's top executives and personalities. Again, Grant, thanks for being here. Have a good rest of your week. Have a great Thanksgiving with your family as well. We'll catch you all next week. And as always, go Chiefs.